Geneviève Biron has been named the first head of Santé Québec. The former president and CEO of Biron Group Santé will now lead the government corporation. Biron says she's coming into this role with a different perspective on our healthcare system, with her focus being on increasing access and increasing confidence in Quebec's healthcare system. Biron will earn $652,000 plus a year for the first 2 years of her mandate. But the news of her appointment is not going over with everyone that well. Some critics say that the government's choice to pick someone from the private sector is a very bad sign. Let's go to André Fortin right now, Liberal M&A for Pontiac, and of course the official opposition critic on healthcare matters. Monsieur Fortin, welcome back to the show.
Good morning, sir.
So I know very little about Geneviève Biron. I know she has glasses, and people with glasses tend to be smarter than the rest of us, but I know nothing else.
That's a myth. That is a complete myth. I will dispute that till the end of my days.
I'm telling you, I got the laser surgery. I dropped 10 points in my IQ overnight. Okay, so what do you know? What should we know about Geneviève Biron?
Well, here's the thing. Not a lot of people in Quebec know a lot about Geneviève Biron. People in the healthcare world will know about her family business, Biron Group Santé, which is a private business that deals in lab tests and things of such nature. But about her specifically, I think we're all eager to hear a lot more about her perspective. And I've heard a lot of people, a lot of critics over the past few days say, "Oh, well, she comes from the private healthcare network, and that's it's a big no-no when you're being put in charge of our public healthcare system." But to us, that's not the issue here. The issue is we want to understand her vision. We want to know where she wants to take this, and we haven't heard that in the very first interviews. And the other thing is we still don't understand how Santé Québec will actually improve things. She's in charge of a new healthcare agency for which the health minister has not made the demonstration that it will lead to improved services for Quebec.
I'm trying to view it from all the different perspectives here. Can you see a benefit for having someone who comes from the private sector and the private medical sector who can look at what's happening within the government and say, wait, hold on a second, this is very inefficient, let's do it this way? Do you think that there could be some positives here?
I think there can be some positives to having somebody with an outside different perspective. And let's be honest, Christian Dubé had said from the start he was going to bring in somebody from the private world. He wanted a top gun from private business. He found one. And obviously him paying that person $650,000 a year, he was going to get some good CVs on his table. So he found somebody. He put a career public servant, Dr. Abergel from the SHIM alongside her. But she will have a different perspective. But she also has to realize that it's not the same. Running a private business is not the same thing as running the largest government department, the largest government service, a very unionized public sector. It's going to have very different challenges from what she's experienced before.
Can I ask you about the $650,000 plus a year? Does that make any sense to you? Like, I'm trying to think. There's got to be more than one person that wanted this job. There's got to be some competition. I don't know. Can you see who'll do the job for $500,000? Is what's going in my brain. What? Why is this salary so high?
We don't think that the government had to pay that kind of salary to attract somebody. There are so many people who, if you put a challenge like that in front of them, would say, I want to get involved in public policy. I want to get involved in the public world. I want to do good by the place I live in. We didn't have to pay somebody $650,000 to attract some high-quality person. I mean, the premier of this province doesn't make half of that. So Monsieur Dubé, in his quest to find his pearl, probably took it a step too far.
Yeah, and let's hope Michael Sabia doesn't say, hey, wait a second, I deserve a raise. Okay, let's talk about this aspect here, because this is where the alarm bells go off in my mind, right? So she was the former president and CEO of Biron Group Santé, okay?
Yep.
So And apparently this firm still has contracts with the government and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking an appointment like this, oh boy, on the counterpoint of the positives, I'm like, oh geez, the fix is in here on, relationships with private groups, money going now from our public system to the private sector. What about that aspect? Taking someone who is so closely connected to a family business that makes money off of healthcare.
The government kind of went out of its way to say, listen, we're going to put in all sorts of barriers to make sure that Madame Biron has no dealings with her family business, that there are no financial links between her and the business she ran for decades. Obviously, she comes with a set of experience, and probably a set of experience that says that private business can do things well. But there are so many people who have some form of conflict, and they do put the proper barriers in place to make sure that doesn't happen. There are people who struggle with it, Pierre Fitzgibbon being one of them, but there are people who manage to do it well. So we'll trust that Madame Biron will be as open, honest, straightforward about things as possible, but obviously it's something that everybody, I think, will keep a close eye on.
Let me just add, so I can see it in certain circumstances in a limited fashion, but when you're now in charge of Santé Québec, I mean, every family dinner is an opportunity for a little bit too much information to go each way, right? Like that's what I don't understand. You've got family dinners with the rest of the Birons. They're going to spread it within the private sector. Hey, this is what the government needs right now. Here's where we can increase. I'm just spitballing here. You'd have to be dumb not to use the information you just glean from family dinners to get more money out of the government. I'm just saying,
You'd have to be dumb, or you'd have to be brutally honest. And I hope that is the attitude that Madame Biron will take to this, is to understand that she cannot share any government information with her family. It's something that's, sure, it might be tough to do, but she's being paid a hefty sum of money to do it.
So let's talk politics here for a second, because I imagine the name, and we're with André Fortin, Liberal MNA, and the official opposition critic on healthcare matters. I imagine right now, Monsieur Fortin, that they've named Geneviève Biron as the CEO of Santé Québec, the head of Santé Québec. And now the excuse time is over. Now, especially from now to the next provincial election, results have to be on the table. What are you going to be looking for result-wise?
Well, there's a premise to your question that I kind of disagree with. The government already had an obligation to have results. I mean, this government has been in place for 6 years. Wait time for surgeries is not getting any better. Yesterday, we pointed out to government that year after year after years, there are more and more people who have cancer surgeries that far exceed the delays that are medically acceptable. There are people who are dying in our emergency rooms, not even making it through triage. And it's the issues on healthcare so far in the life of this government have not been a success. The government fails to meet any of its own self-imposed indicators on healthcare. So it had an obligation to succeed. Now, Christian Dubé tells us, oh, well, our objective is 2025. He does have an obligation to succeed, and he has an obligation to prove to us that this new model is one that will work, and that hasn't been done so far. Alberta's tried this. It had to backtrack because it didn't work. Other places have tried this with limited or with no success. So we're still not sold on the idea that this is the best thing for the healthcare network, especially given the fact that it's going to create a lot of ruckus and reorganization, and there's going to be a ton of time spent on that instead of on improving healthcare to patients.
Bonus points for using one of my favorite words in the English language, ruckus. Mr. Fortin, we've got to leave it there.
All right. Have a great day.
André Fortin, Liberal MNA for Pontiac and the official opposition's critic on health.